Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Knit California podcast. My name is Leslie. I am Knit California here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And today's episode, we are talking about 2023 knitting plans, goals, dreams, ideas, wishes, all of the above. I am really excited to talk about this today because I feel like I've been thinking about it for a while now. I feel like I went into 2022 without a whole lot of goals or plans. I really wanted to focus on getting better at sweater knitting, and I feel like I did that. I feel like I did a pretty good job at that. So what I've done for this year is I kind of have a couple big picture things that I've really been thinking about that I want to focus on. And then kind of below that, I have broken the year out into quarters. Now, the plans for each quarter, they really follow the natural flow of the year and the general trends that we see throughout the year in terms of knitting. You'll see more what I mean when I get into this. So it's nothing, crazy new, but I really think this will help focus myself and the projects that I pick throughout the year. So let's get started. The overarching things that I have really been thinking about come down to this. I really want to focus on my own personal style and the types of garments that I like to wear versus patterns that come out and are really pretty or really popular, but that I maybe wouldn't necessarily reach for very often in my closet. So, for an example, this that I'm wearing right now, this is my Clove sweater by Rachel Kurihara, and I just finished this last month in November, but I have been wearing it non-stop. For me, it's very easy to throw on, it's very comfortable, and I feel like it's very classic. I feel like it's not too fancy or too over the top. And I feel like I can really just wear this whenever I want. I have some other knits that I love. For example, my sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's the all-over cabled sweater. I absolutely love it. I love wearing it. But I don't always reach for it because I feel like it's a little bit fancier than this that I feel like I can wear every day. Now, I know some of this is just in my head, but that's how I feel. So I really want to start focusing more on knits that I can grab for and that really speak to me, and that I will want to wear more on a regular basis. So that's kind of part one. Part two is all of this behind me, some of which you can't even see, it's out of frame. I have a lot of yarn and I have a lot of sweater quantities already in my stash that I want to use. Now, I've already started this process with this and with the other two sweaters that I have made and I'm currently making this fall, is I want to start using up more of my stash. And coming into the new year, I do have some ideas and some plans to actually start doing that. So that's part two. The other piece is I really just want to be realistic with myself, but I also want to be flexible. And if something is really speaking to me, I want to have the ability, I want to give myself the ability. I don't want to be too rigid in all of these plans. And I want to be able to give myself the ability to cast on something that's really, really tugging at me to cast on. So we're going to take all of what I say next with a grain of salt, and while this is a plan to start with, plans can change and I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. So, and if you continue watching my podcast, you will see how this all unfolds throughout the next year. So, with kind of those overarching themes being said, let's get into what my actual thoughts are. So like I said, what I've done is I have broken the year down into quarters. So they will follow the seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall, 3 months to a quarter, and we're gonna dig right into it. So first up is winter, January, February, March. I've already talked about what my plans are for the winter quarter, and that is to knit 3 sweaters, all 3 Raglan designs, and my goal for this is to compare and contrast the 3 different patterns. I already have yarn picked out in my stash for all of these. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, the 3 sweaters that I want to make, let me grab the yarn. The 3 sweaters that I want to make are the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Maed Designs, and for that I'm going to be using, this is Explorer Knits and Fibers, her Rocky's DK base in the colorway Court of Dreams, and I'm actually thinking of holding it together with this blue mohair. This is Lang Lace. It's a mohair Super Kid silk. It's 58% mohair and 42% silk, so it's extremely soft. This is what I used to make the souffle tea earlier this year. And I did a swatch of these 2 together, and they're gorgeous. So that's number 1 on the list. Number 2 is the No Frills sweater by PetiteKnit, and I'm going to be using this Bella Filato Studio. The colorway is Pure Headlights, and this is in her Bella DK base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's really pretty. It's got some speckles in it, which is really cool. And then the 3rd sweater I'm planning on making is the Semper sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl, and for that I'm going to be using this Long Dog yarn in her Merino DK, which is 100% superwash merino, in the colorway Rose Gold. So that's 3 sweaters. The plan is 1 sweater per month, which has so far been doable for me. This fall I've been working through 3 drop shoulder designs, this being one of them. And so we're moving on in winter to 3 Raglan designs. I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the drop shoulders to each other, the Raglans to each other, and then in that final video I'll also be comparing just my personal preference for drop shoulders versus Raglan designs. I really wanted to focus on that this fall and winter, just to like better understand what I like as a knitter, what I like to wear in my wardrobe, and I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. So I'm going to be continuing this project in January, February, and March with these 3 Raglan designs. Additionally, I have a couple works in progress that I would really like to finish in January as well. One of them being the Champagne cardigan by PetiteKnit that I have already started. Throwing in like a 4th full sweater, it's a cardigan, but it's like the same amount of work as a sweater. It's kind of a lot, so I'm just kind of playing this one by ear and working on it when I feel like it and when I feel like I have the time to work on it. So if this one doesn't get done until later in the year, I'm fine with that. But I started this one so that I would have a cardigan to wear to work, and I really would like to start wearing it to work. But anyways, that's that. So that is quarter 1. We're going to be focusing on Raglan sweater designs. Moving on to quarter 2, springtime. This is April, May, and June. What I really want to focus on in spring are some short sleeve tops, things that can be work appropriate, and I have a bunch of yarn in stash for sweaters already picked out in this category. So my current ideas Now again, this can all change. I'm thinking the salty air tee. I'm thinking the promenade blouse. I'm thinking the Brookline blouse. Designs along those lines that are short sleeve, and things that I will want to grab all throughout spring, summer, early fall, that I can wear to work, that I can wear out to dinner, that I will just want to wear maybe around the house. Those are the types of things that I'm thinking of for springtime. And I think focusing on these will be really nice. Just the work appropriateness of them is something that I'm kind of really focusing on, because now that it's like fall and winter, I have been wearing my sweaters that I've been making, and I really enjoy wearing my knits to the office. So having short sleeve version of these, and maybe having that champagne cardigan complete, I think would just be a really nice office look for me in the spring and in the summer. It's always cold in the office, right? Like, so it may be 100 degrees outside, but whenever I'm in the office, it's freezing cold. So having something a little bit like lightweight, but also still warm, will be nice. So that's quarter two, spring knits. Spring short sleeve tees and knits. Okay, moving on to the summer. This is July, August, September. We have kind of two things going on at this time. First of all, I really want to focus on socks. I want to take at least 1 month in this quarter and not have any sweater whips on my needle, and I want to solely focus on making socks and getting better at making socks. There's a couple things here that I keep thinking about. First is, like, I've heard the phrase perfect fit socks, so having socks that fit my feet perfectly. I want to really focus on, you know, the correct needle size, the correct number of stitches, the correct length of the foot and the leg, what I like best, those types of things. I want to really figure out, similar to what I did with these sweaters, do I like working toe up? Do I like working cuff down? What size needle do I like working with? What cord length do I like working with? Maybe I'll try DPNs. All of those factors. There's so many different things when knitting socks. I have a ton of sock yarn down here in this cubby that I would like to get knit up, but I'm thinking for this I'll probably buy some more inexpensive yarn, probably from like Knit Picks, and just start with that. I feel like I get scared or worried using my hand-dyed yarn that I'm gonna make something that's not perfect or that I don't like wearing, and then like either I have to frog it or just like never wear it. And so I want to start with like something simple. I want to get good at it. I want to fully understand it better. And I want to start enjoying sock making more. So that's one part of my plans for summer. Editing Leslie here. I forgot to mention the other part with the sock knitting, and that is fully understanding the construction of knitting socks. I feel like I've really been focusing on that with all the drop shoulders that I'm knitting, as well as the raglans that I'm going to be knitting with sweaters. And so to fully understand the construction and the type of construction that I like to knit with socks is the other piece that I want to be focusing on here. Okay, thanks, bye. Now, the other part is really, really exciting. I have signed up to go on a knitting trip to Ireland in October. It's a 10-day trip in October. And so if I'm going on a knitting trip with a bunch of knitters in Ireland, I'm gonna need to make at least one, if not two, sweaters to wear specifically for my trip to Ireland with a bunch of knitters. So that's the other piece to summer, is to knit at least one, maybe two sweaters for Ireland. I booked this trip with Rachel. She's at Rachel is Knitting on Instagram, and her mom, Dendra, who is at Ms. Adventure Travel on Instagram, and they have put together this 10-day trip with a full packed itinerary, from visiting places in Ireland, some tours, as well as knitting activities, so lectures, workshops, visiting yarn shops. It's gonna be really fun. I'm really excited. Rachel and I have already talked about like a potential knit along to make matching sweaters, so I don't know what the designs are going to be yet that I end up knitting. In my head I'm seeing like all of these cables, so I'm seeing like the Dorney sweater by the Crayabea, I'm seeing the Moby sweater by PetiteKnit, I'm seeing the Ingrid sweater from PetiteKnit, just all that texture. So something along those lines. We'll see what I end up casting on and coming up with, but that is going to be part of my summer knitting plans as well, and those need to be finished before I leave for Ireland in October. So that is summer socks and Ireland knitting. Very exciting, very exciting. Okay, and then that leaves us with fall, October, November, and December. And I've kind of left this open right now. This fall, like I said, I did my 3 drop shoulder sweater designs. I really enjoyed having like a theme to stick to in the fall. So I'm thinking of doing something similar next fall as well, picking a theme, picking 3 sweaters. Maybe I'll do something like texture, and if I haven't made the Ingrid sweater already, I'll make the Ingrid sweater, and maybe something else with cables. Maybe I'll pick color work. I've got a bunch of color work sweaters that I'm intrigued by and interested in, saved on my Ravelry. Something like that. Again, I'm leaving it open for now. I'm gonna see what I'm in the mood for, you know, a year from now, and we'll figure it out then. But that's kind of the general framework that I'm going to be following for next year. Now there's another piece to this as well, and that is, you know how sometimes you just get a pattern stuck in your head and it won't leave? Or you purchase some new yarn that you feel like you just have to get it cast on your needles right away. I have this as well, and right now I have a couple things stuck in my head that I just cannot get out, and so I don't know if this is going to manifest into me casting on additional things that are outside of these plans. It might, and again, one of the overarching themes of this was to be flexible and realistic, so if that happens, it's fine. But I kind of wanted to talk you through what's been stuck in my head right now, and I think this could be a cool like segment of the podcast to continue, you know, maybe each month, like what's stuck in my head right now. We'll see, I don't know. But the first one is the Cumulus blouse by PetiteKnit. I've seen a lot of people making this recently. I have 2 sweater quantities for this in my stash, although one of them might end up being used for something else because I realized it's not quite the right yarn weight that it's supposed to be for the Cumulus blouse. But I have 6 skeins of this. This is Explorer Knits and Fibers Surrey Alpaca Lace. So it's 74% baby Surrey alpaca, 26% silk in the colorway Moonstone. And I have been lusting over this colorway for so long, and I was finally able to grab 6 skeins in one of her recent sales, and it's beautiful. This is one of those cases where I have this yarn that I really want to cast on, a pattern that I've been dying to make for months, and so it might just happen. I'm pretty sure this is a Raglan design. I might need to double check, but it might fit into my Raglan series, so we'll see. I don't want it to take over something else, so it would be like an addition, and I don't know if I have time to, you know, make all of these things that I want to make. That's always the problem for all of us, right? But this is one of those things that I just can't get out of my head, so we'll see if I can fit it in next year's plans. And maybe it'll just be a spontaneous cast on, kind of like the champagne cardigan was, but that's not even finished, so we'll see. 3 of the sweaters that I already mentioned for potential Ireland knitting are others that I can't get out of my head. So the Ingrid sweater and the Moby sweater by PetiteKnit. Really, the Moby sweater recently has been on my mind. I just think it's gorgeous with the like crisscross panel in the middle and the 2 cables down the side of the front. I think it's really pretty. Now, I don't have yarn for either the Ingrid or the Moby sweater in my stash, so I kind of like want to lean away from those because I would rather use yarn that I already have, but at the same time, if I can't get it out of my head, then maybe it's okay to just, for me, maybe it's okay for me, I'm the one that can make these rules, to purchase yarn to cast those on. We'll see. And if I end up really wanting to make them for Ireland sweater wearing, then I would need to buy yarn for that, which is fine. Like, I'm not going on a no-buy this year. I'm just trying to use yarn that I already have in my stash. So that's that. This hot pink yarn that I have in my stash is from Silly Goose Yarns. It's on her plump fingering base, 75/25 superwash merino nylon in the colorway Bubblegum. I have 6/7, I say slash because one of them is a different dye lot, skeins of this that I look at it every day and I'm just like, I need to get that on my needles. I need to make something with that. And it hasn't happened yet. So this is another one of those yarns that I can't get out of my head. I think I have a pattern picked out for this, but I'm not 100% sold on it yet, so I'm not sure. We'll see. But another one of those that I can't get out of my head. And a couple last things that I just can't get out of my head. Whenever I'm on Pinterest, I've already saved these as like saved pins, but they keep coming up. And it's really both, I think, the design and the color combinations of these that I really, really like. So this first one is this striped orange with purple and white sweater. It's a drop shoulder. Now, we know I love drop shoulders right now. But I just think this color combination is really, really cool. And I'm really, really liking this right now. So that's one. This is the second one, again, stripes. But look at that, like, light blue, orange, baby pink / I think it's more of like a peach color with the white in the middle. I don't know, I really, really like this color combination as well. And it comes up again on my Pinterest all the time, so I'm like constantly looking at this and I think it's gorgeous. Let's see, this one is a little bit more fall. But it's like yellow, white, blue, orange, like darker pinky red. So again, stripes, and I don't really have anything like striped in my closet, so I think this is a sign that I really need to cast on something with stripes. And then one last one, again, more stripes, but this is a cardigan. Kind of similar colors, but with that green thrown in there as well. So I don't know what this will manifest into in my head, but I just look at these patterns and these colors like constantly and I'm like, ah, I want it. So we'll see. Again, I don't have like yarn in my stash to make something like this. I feel like I could order from like Knitting for Olive though and get some really beautiful colors that are similar to some of those colors to make something like that, but I'm not there yet. But I'm thinking about it all the time, so that is that. So yeah, I'm just looking at my notes here. I think that's everything. I'm really excited to dive into this new year, 2023, and to dive into these knitting plans. I just think it's gonna be fun. I am excited to continue using yarn that I already have in my stash. It makes me feel good to get it all caked up and to start projects with it. Now I do have plans to keep buying yarn, but I think that's okay. I'm not too worried about that yet. I'm not focusing on like truly stashing down and truly doing a no-buy this year, just because I don't want to put that restriction on myself yet. There may come a time where I do want to do that, but I feel like focusing on these projects with the yarn that I already have in my stash is like step one to all of this, and I'm really happy with myself for these plans and for using the yarn that I already have. So that's where I'm at. I would love to hear down in the comments below what your 2023 knitting goals or plans or ideas are. I'd also love to know if we have any similar ideas, or if you have any additional suggestions for me. Lastly, I'm really trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. My stretch goal was by the end of 2022, but I know we're not going to make that, so that's my new January YouTube goal, is to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you liked this video, please click that subscribe button. I have new videos coming out every Friday or Saturday every week. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you get some time to knit today, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!